What businesses and small business don't do, there's a few reasons why I don't think they grow. One is they just don't market enough.
As a way to not sound salesy to the people you're connected with, because you are still kind of putting 100%. It on their radar.
I had someone in our program who did that exact strategy. And then that's how he got his first client. Basic rule of copywriting, you do not want your thing to look like an ad.
Is there an AI tool that you like to use?
I use ChatGPT all the time. I've found probably the biggest hack. It's like,
Matt Lakajev is the #1 fastest growing creator in Australia. He is the founder of 7-Figure Creator Company that helps LinkedIn creators go from 0 to 7-figure income.
With a bigger company, if you sent them an offer document, you would just need to make sure that it's polished enough to look legit. You can't send like a big company and be like, the person doesn't get back to them and they're like, oh, they're not interested. But what actually happened is,
so we want you to back, and we made it happen.
We're back.
Welcome back, Matt.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys. Pumped to chat again. It's going to be fun. Last time was super fun, so this one's going to be good as well.
Well, and then, we want to start from the beginning and go to the end here with your exact process. So we're going to let you take it from the beginning. We're going to throw questions at you, of course, as we go through. Yeah. But please just hit us.
Yeah, easy. Okay, so we want to talk through them. You guys mentioned before this. It was sales process from start to end.
Yep.
And I think this one will be super valuable again for a lot of people, as you guys mentioned as well. Just because there's a lot of mystery in sales process as well. And I think when I do talk through this process, I can talk through the process that I use, but then the process that I coach. Like we've got about 600 clients in our program, because the way that I do it is not the way that I'd recommend a lot of people, especially if they're starting out, to do it as well. Just because it's more complicated and there's more moving parts as well. But I'm happy to share on both as well. But I'll start from the beginning, which we talk about lead generation, because everything's downstream from lead generation. And so I'll just talk from LinkedIn specifically and how to do it. So if I was I just got off a sales chat before, so I don't do sales meetings. I only do DM chats through WhatsApp or LinkedIn and close deals via chat. So it's more complex that way, but it works quite well just because you get less fatigued on calls. But I definitely think everyone starting out should do sales calls, and you want a couple of hundred under your belt, just because you really get to know your ideal client and you get to really understand them and feel what they're going through. But when it first starts,
I'm going to ask you a question already. Sorry. When you mention that, and when you mention the DM side, even though I get what you're saying, make sure you get to really know and understand them first. But is there a dollar sweet spot of when it should be in DM versus not, or do you think you could close anything in a DM?
I closed a $23,000 deal via DM 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Amazing. No, never met the person ever before. And so I actually, before that, had never closed a deal that big by DM, and I wasn't a believer, but other people I know have done it. So now I'm a believer. So now I believe that you can do it. But the difference between a DM and a sales meeting is there's less room for error in a DM conversation. And when I mean DM conversation, I mean I actually text message people and have a text message chat, in LinkedIn or WhatsApp, or sometimes just text message, and we have a conversation via text, and then I send them the offer document and they buy. The reason why you don't want to straight go to that and you want a sales call is because in a sales call, you can build trust quicker because they get to see your face as well. And also there's a lot more room for moving around. They can get to know you. You can see their emotions. You can't see people's emotions on a text chat. Yeah. So when you're doing a text sale, people that can do it is you've got to have your marketing way more geared. And so you've got to have that really dialed in. Plus your text process, it's like a sales call. It's never off the cuff.
Yeah.
The best sales calls you ever get on is when you talk to the salesperson and they just ask these questions. You feel like you're totally in control. And at the end, you decide, I want to work with you. But they actually controlled the whole thing. It wasn't you. They just made you feel like you controlled it.
Yeah.
But the hard thing about a text message selling is there's no emotion. So you can't see what they're doing. You can't see if they're leaning in, if they're interested, if they're laid back, if they're distracted. Yeah. So you can't see that. And so they're kind of the main differences. So that's why I'd always suggest sales calls at the beginning as well, because you want experience talking to your ideal clients.
Yeah.
But the good thing about text chatting is it's more scalable and it takes less energy. So while you can, if you have 5 sales calls in a day, you are drained, you are done. But if you have 10 text chat conversation closes, you can do it while you're putting the laundry out, watching Netflix with your partner, whatever. But you've got to have it really dialed in to be able to do it.
I suppose you would have to have, some really good built-in trust there already to
Yeah,
even
so
get
like
into that.
you need a lot of the marketing to do a lot of the work. So like sales is really good salespeople. What they do is it's speed of trust. So like a really good salesperson can get on a call, they can like work out the person's problems, build rapport, and then go real deep, and the person feels a connection with them. Like that's like good sales. But with a text chat, it's harder to do that. So you need a lot of your marketing to do a lot of the work. So they need to be persuaded a lot before they actually get to you. And you need to build systems around it. So for example, like I like to always think about the term called time on content. So that is how much time someone spent with your content before they get to maybe a purchasing decision with you. And usually the longer they've spent, like let's say if someone listens to this podcast with you guys and they really like you and they've listened to 3 of them for an hour and then they'd eventually have a chat, it'll be an easier conversation than if they just saw a couple of LinkedIn posts as well. So with text selling, you need to have a lot more time on content. So you need to do strategies like, before they get on the call, you send them a 15-minute video sales letter that they watch the video. They have to watch the video. And before they get on the chat, they answer a few questions to qualify themselves. So you have to qualify really well. You also have to, get them to read an offer doc before and then answer questions so you come pre-prepared. Wow. So there's a lot of mechanics that you need involved in the actual process. And like other things, like you want to have a swipe file of all of your customer wins. So when they're chatting, you're like I'd sent one before, right? As an example, this lady, she was in, say, the coaching space. She runs events. I was just chatting to her literally before this call. She runs events and masterclasses to get clients. And she's like, hey, I don't know if I should change this strategy. And I was like, is it working? And she's like, yeah, it's working quite well. And I was like, look, I think you should keep doing that. We just want to enhance it. And then I was like, look, here's an example of my client, Jesse. He closed $70,000 through his masterclasses. He just ran our 7-day offer campaign to do it as well. Here's a screenshot of him. Here's why he is like you. But I already had that in a Notion document ready. So it's like you want to have like kind of like sell by chat, like weapons. And it's like when you're DMing people at the same time. Yeah. So it's very premeditated.
Interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought about that before. Maybe because I'm the type of individual who's usually like, I might be more of a call, like depending on what it is, there's just this thing. I'm who people hate because I'm like, let's, okay, thank you. I'm taking this in. I'm thinking about it. But I guess to your point, at the same time, there's plenty of things where I bought where there was no contact even with the person. So I guess, yeah, as I think through it there in that scenario, maybe it's not all that crazy since I will make purchases without ever even having a DM thing, where like, you can just buy now.
You look at an extreme. I always like to look at extremes. So great extreme is Apple. Like when the new iPhone comes out, you don't talk to a salesperson. You just buy it. Like you don't even care. It's like they've got so much brand built and so much inherent trust built that you don't. You make a $3,000 purchase of this brand new iPhone, like you just buy it, and then you don't even need any persuading or anything. So it's like that's an extreme of brand. And then, but what a lot of people do is like a lot of people, especially their own sales, they don't understand marketing as much, so they use the conversation as an over-reliance thing because marketing is like, in my opinion, much more complex than sales to learn. Like I'm like learning marketing now, but it's more scalable, more leverageable. That's like the cool thing about it as well. But like sales, you can just, I like learning sales first, and we teach people sales first because if you can just run in there and hustle, you can just make money. It's like you don't actually need any content on LinkedIn, like at all. You like my business partner, Steve, he proved this. He just wrote our DM sell by chat playbook. So we've got a book coming out. It's about a 50-minute read, all about how to sell in the DMs. There's even a prompt inside the book which analyzes your chats and writes all your DMs for you. It's actually insane. Nice. But
that's awesome.
To learn DMs with me, he has no profile photo, never commented, never posted, and all he did was just message people and DM them, and he closed 100K in 3 months because he was learning at the same time. And just because he had me kind of and all that kind of stuff at the same time. But it's like with LinkedIn in particular, like you don't need content like at all. And content's more complex to get right. It's amazing when you get it right. But sales is like the only thing you actually need to drive revenue.
So it's interesting because when you say that though, it's well, I think I understand it. I want to get some clarity because while you mentioned that the nice thing about the approach that you take when it is heavy DMs is when the marketing is doing the job for you by the time you set up, you're in a much better place. I get your sales just needs to be better if you don't have the marketing to be able to do so, but that's where, the separation would come. But what, because I want to go down both pathways, but real quick, like on what you had said around the marketing side of it, is LinkedIn enough for that if that's where you're selling, or is that where you need to make sure people are showing up with longer form type content that's more acceptable on places like a YouTube or somewhere else? Like, what would you suggest there for marketing? Is it purely in that platform or multiple areas?
It just depends. So who are we talking about, like an entrepreneur starting out, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, let's go with that for now. Yep.
Okay, so entrepreneur starting out. So for an entrepreneur starting out, there is a massive overemphasis on content, like giant. Like we had a guy I'm working with, Daniel, 18 months he posted on LinkedIn every day, 0 leads, nothing. Like he got leads, but no clients. Worked with us 3.5 weeks, only DM'd, closed a $2,500 client. Literally couldn't even believe it. He was like, this is insane. There's the thing is, when people start posting content before they talk to people and before they learn sales and before they get lots of clients, they can't, the content they're making isn't actually good quality lead generating content. And that's the problem. And so because the thing is, like, creating content is kind of easy to do because it's fun. It's like when you get creative and you get in a zone and a flow and you write stuff, it's so fun. Like it's, you make a carousel, you do this, you get in the zone. But the hard, like DMing is like hard. It's like emotionally taxing, and like people don't want to do it. So when people start out, they tend to lean on the thing which is content, which is easier, and do content marketing because they also think it's the right thing as well, and which is like really hard. But it's actually the DMs that you want to do, because it's through the conversations and through you working with so many people like that, and literally saying, hey, I'm about to build an offer for your target market. Can I just ask you a couple of questions? Because I'm literally writing the offer document. And the target client will be like, yes, 100%. And they'll just answer the questions. And so there's a massive overemphasis on the content. And most people can't actually write content that produces leads because they haven't done the other thing first.
Yeah,
which is really hard. Even like marketers can't do it as well. That's the hard thing, because it's LinkedIn. It rewards you with the red notification thing with like notifications. And notifications don't equal money. And so we had a guy join who he writes like really top of funnel leadership content and gets 2,000 likes a post, right? He built a sales funnel into his profile to sell leadership coaching, never sold a single thing ever. He was getting like 2,000 likes a post, millions of impressions. And but it didn't matter, because I took one look at his funnel and I was like, man, you haven't done sales enough. Like I can tell you don't understand the target market and the client. So people want to skip that hard thing. But the thing is, when you don't, and when you do that hard thing, then when you go back to the content, you're like, I know it works. And then your content like lights on fire, because like you know exactly what to do. Yeah. And so I see content as an accelerant to start more conversations with your ideal clients. Like that's what it does. More trusted conversations with them. But it's not a requirement to do.
What about somebody who comes in and says, okay, well, I see this person over here, and this is the technique they take with their content. What if they just go to duplicate the same way that they're doing it if it's for a similar client base? I guess that maybe it's... Sorry.
That's 100% what I would suggest. We were literally on a group call last night, and someone was like, how do I make good lead magnets? And I was like, okay, this is what you do. Find all the top creators in your niche, download Clio, the extension, find all their top posts, screenshot all of them, put them into a Miro board, and then literally study them and copy them and redo them. Like literally.
Got it.
And like, that's how you want to do it. The problem is, like, I've got a video coming out about this, especially with lead magnets, like lead magnets right now are a massive hack on LinkedIn. You can post this thing and 1,000 people comment, or even a couple hundred, and they say, yeah, I want the thing. And it's literally a buying signal. If you say, hey, like I released one last night, this GPT writes DMs for you. Do you want it? Put your hand up. 1,000 people put their hand up, right? Mm-hmm. There's no other way I can get 1,000 people with their hand up, because they're all signaling, hey, I'm interested. Yeah. But the problem is, if you post this like really good content and stuff like that, it drives tons of conversations. There's like dozens of micro skills between there and the sales chat as well. And so I've known people who post all these big lead magnets and they copy other people. They have no idea about DM selling, like at all, or offer construction, or how to send the document. So they even get thousands of comments and they never even sell anything. It's like you can copy that content and do it, but it's why I'm not a big fan of AI content anymore as well, because when you don't know why it works and you do it and it works, it's why I have a big problem with using templates for cold outreach. A lot of people, what they do is they get these templates for cold outreach. They use an agency, and the agency writes templates, and they send these cold emails, right? And they start booking meetings for a couple of months. But cold email and stuff, marketing, everything gets desensitized over time. So people catch on, and you got to make stuff better. So when you don't have the skill to make it better, then you just get caught, and then all your leads stop, and you're like, I don't know why. I can't diagnose the issue. So I'm very big into building the skills to be able to do it, so you can like become algorithm proof. Because like things change all the time. Like LinkedIn impressions go, 1 week they're like amazing, and they're like, oh, see you later. I lost all of them. Don't know why that happened.
Yeah, well, probably too. Especially, I wonder about this with AI a lot now, as it oftentimes is doing things in a very similar way because it's pulling information, giving everybody the same thing, which then means people are seeing the same stuff that's out there, and now you got to figure out how you stand out differently. But that's
exactly.
not something AI does.
Well, even style, like even the AI styles, it's so easy to see that a style of writing, it's AI.
Yeah. So it's like you want to use it as an accelerant to write, but like the best content is, Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot. It's called one-of-one content. You write content from only your perspective. So I wrote a post like 2 days ago where I wrote like, on the weekend, it was my brother's wedding. And he asked me to be the best man. And I was shitting myself because I had to do the speech. And then I wrote a story about how, I went through building for the speech and all that kind of stuff. And then I turned it into a post about, I talked about how I prepared for months and I smashed the speech and went really well. But then I talked about how that's what everyone does for lead generation. They're saying, let's kick the can to 2025, but you should really think about it now. And so like you wrap it in. So that's an example of like a post where you take something in your life that like AI can't generate or whatever, unless it like literally fabricates a story as an example. But like you take a story and then you wrap it in. So you want to have like one-of-one content. Like that's what really works. Because the hard thing is if people just copy all different stuff, is like they don't have their own unique content. So what's happening on LinkedIn right now is a lot of people are posting like billboard posts where you scroll through, there'll be a billboard and there'll be like a quote there.
Oh, yeah.
1,000 people will like it. But like, it's not actually building your brand per se. Like it does have some purpose of like gaining followers and that kind of stuff, but like it's not attracting usually the right ideal target market. And like, it's not associated with you.
Sure.
But like people have messaged me being like, dude, I love that post about your brother's wedding. And they always remember it. People remember unique things and individual things, but I will never remember the other stuff. So you want to have like one-of-one content. So an AI can help accelerate the speed of content, but like the creating of it and identifying of it is like, that's the hard thing. So that's where people can get caught.
Is there an AI tool that you like to use?
I use a few different AI tools. I use ChatGPT all the time. I think the biggest hack for AI is speaking to it. So I've shown a lot of people this. So what I do is whenever I have a problem, I don't type because I type slower than I talk. And when I also believe, I've watched a lot of stuff and read a lot of stuff on this, like humans have been talking for like 100 times longer than we've been writing as well. And so like talking on having conversations is like a natural thing. And so I've found probably the biggest hack is like getting the ChatGPT, the best one, and I have the company one, so it saves all my information. And I've uploaded all my information into the GPT. This is my personality type, my DISC profile, my Myers-Briggs. This is everything about my business. This is all this stuff about me. This is how I work. And then what I do is I put a speech to text on and I speak into it and then get it come back to me. And so I've found the biggest hack is like, there's no like, there are specific tools and stuff like that, but it's just sitting there and having a conversation with the AI. It's like, hey, you know my personality. This is what's happening. I woke up this morning and I was stressed about this and I got to do these things and give me some advice on what I should do. And let's just brainstorm this for 10 minutes. Like that's probably my biggest AI hack that I've probably discovered.
So something that is, I'll call it a little more, I don't want to say futuristic, but in that we will all have our own little buddy like that in the future. Definitely. That is a regular part of what it is. You're
so
getting ahead
scary
of it.
To like think about. Yeah. Like the AI GPT that we've created now, like, so it's literally just, we wrote a book, the Sell by Chat playbook, right? It's 10,000 words. It's all our IP put into one. Essentially the GPT or the prompt is just the whole book pasted. and it says,
Right.
this is the book and this is all the rules.
Mhm.
And then you essentially say, paste the conversation in there and have the conversation. But like what will happen like very soon, and there's probably companies doing it right now, will be like, you'll be able to train it so much on all the conversations you have. So for me, for example, I looked inside like LinkedIn, and since I've started, I've like DM'd 13,000 people. It's something like crazy. And like we've got a system Go High Level where I WhatsApp chat people as well. And so like soon I'll just be able to import all of that data into something, and it will probably be able to just train and write it for me.
Yeah.
Most likely. There probably is a tool that can do it now, which is like really scary as well at the same time. That will be when things go to the next level.
No, that's incredible. I bet you there is something out there now too, or at least people are playing with that. So taking it back then a bit, what does that approach look like? Because when you talk about, again, sales in general, and let's use this scenario right now where you're reaching out to somebody supposedly for the first time, but you tell me if you ever even just reach out that way, or if it starts warming them up some other way. What does this look like?
Okay, so where I would start if someone's selling you is you want to run things called offer campaigns. And so I've actually got a script here. I'll read it out loud so you can see it as well. So like what businesses and small business don't do, there's a few reasons why I don't think they grow. One is they just don't market enough, period. They don't do it enough to get good enough on the thing. But what they also don't do is they just don't make enough offers, like at all. So if you think about like a department store, I'm reading the book from the guy who built Walmart like now, and he talks about creating offers and stuff like that. And right now, if you go to a department store and there's the Christmas sale, there's literally a sale. And then the Christmas sale is over, it's still going, and then they put everything away, and then it's literally one day later, it's the Easter sale. And then there's the Mother's Day sale and the Father's Day one, and it just keeps going, right? What you want to do with, especially with small business, is you want to create offer campaigns or reasons to reach out and create a compelling event in someone's life for them to make a decision. Because most people don't decide to do something, not because they choose something else, it's because it's status quo. And so you want to create a compelling event in their life with scarcity, urgency, all that kind of stuff built into it for them to join. So the first thing I would do, and I tell people to do, is that as a small business, you want to run consistent offer campaigns probably every month or every 6 weeks, all the time. So whatever campaign it is, just slap a name on it. So my campaign right now is the Christmas Small Business Owner campaign. Before that, it was the December case study campaign. Then it was the November case study campaign. Then the October case study campaign. Literally just call it the same name. Doesn't matter. And so what you do is I actually run offer campaigns every single 3 weeks to my email list and in the DMs all the time. And I'll read the script of like what I would use. So if anyone wants to copy this, just copy this whole script. All you say is you DM someone or you send them like an email, and you want to send this to anyone who has ever said no to you in the past, anyone you know that might be interested, any of your first degree connections on LinkedIn. You want to do email, business cards, pull them up, give people phone calls if you want as well. If I was given, like someone said, Matt, you got to come into a business for one day and generate as much money as you could, I would do this. This is like what I would do. I do it on the phone though, because I try to get onto as many people as possible. I'd email them all and text them and everything and phone call them. Is day one, you say, hey, name, next day of the week, I'm going to work with, 4, then you enter ideal prospects to help them dream outcome without pain point. Would you like to join us? You can send this every 6 weeks to everyone, and it's like a non-aggressive sales thing, and it's like having a campaign. And a lot of people are scared of being salesy. Like that's usually the gap. They don't want to piss people off and be salesy. I show this to like a salesperson who has actually done outreach. The difference between like a salesperson and just someone in small business is like massive. The small business doesn't realize how hard you can go and how aggressive you can be without being aggressive. And so it's not pissing people off, it's you being convicted to actually reach out. So that's kind of like a hurdle to go over. But you send that on day one, then day 2, either 1 or 2 days later, name, we're getting started on date, wanted to check if you might be interested in joining us. That's it. Literally, that's it. And then the third email you send is, hey, name, in case you missed the first message, we're getting started on date. Would be great for you to join us. If not, all good. That's it. Yeah. And so I do this once every 3 weeks. And last month we closed 15 deals via email and made like $40,000 with no sales calls just because I sent those 3 emails.
That's
literally.
awesome.
Yeah. And so it's like the first place I would start is that like running an offer campaign and then having an offer doc. You can use the same offer doc every time, just switch around the heading, the label, and just call it the different name. The Halloween thing, Easter, whatever. But like that's stage like 1 of what you do when you're starting out. And when you're starting out, you'll have a smaller list of people as well. But what happens over time is as you proactively add 200 people every week on LinkedIn, and as you create content, your network gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And also each next time you send the same offer campaign to the same people, if you're creating content and you're only reaching out to your ideal clients, they're still going to have the problem. It doesn't go away as well. And so it's a way that you can just loop in. And so that's like the first thing in the sales process, like anyone should do, especially if someone's a small business owner, like they think it's a magic trick when they first run it. They can't believe it, like what actually happens.
Well, so a couple of questions there though. So one of them is you're not concerned with, in some ways, and I guess you also add it, but you remove the urgency to this degree. I mean, I guess you are saying, hey, we're doing it here, but because it's happening every 3 weeks, that might not feel like, hey, we're doing this now, and it's last time you're going to get this offer. Like sometimes people will push urgency instead, but you're not as worried about urgency there or creating.
Like, I think urgency's been overdone.
Okay,
it's just been overdone. Everyone's been to the sales page on Facebook where it's this long sales page and it's like 24 hours left. Got to get the thing. Exactly. Used to be $2,000. Scratch out everything, and now it's $99. You got to get it right now, otherwise the offer's expiring. And you're like, yeah, nah.
I actually hate that. It loses trust for me, but I still feel like I see somebody do it. That's why I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like I'm reading a lot of old school copywriting books lately, and there's a principle around copywriting, how there's kind of like 3 stages of a market and like how you want to promote things. And like we're kind of, especially if you're in the online education space, you're kind of are in the point where it's like kind of saturated with like crazy promises and big ideas. And in rule 101 of copywriting and for like channeling the desires of the market, you then want to revert back to being the opposite. You want to be the non-pushy, simple thing, no big promise, because people look at you then as like, oh, like that's like actually not too pushy and not crazy. And the other thing as well, coupled with that, is your offer that you have, don't make a big promise. Go with the opposite. Everyone makes a big promise. So if you go to Instagram, you'll see an ad where someone will say, we'll fill your calendar with 30 appointments in the next 7 days. We'll pay you $5,000 and send your kids to Disneyland. Book a time with us. And you're like, what the hell? Like, so they've taken the promises to the extreme. So when that happens, you just want to revert back and you want to be like, hey, we'll help you book a couple of appointments for your business over the next month as well. And we start with a 1-month commitment or something like that, just to see if we actually like working with each other. If you're interested, it would be great to have a chat. It's like, it's different. And then people don't have that salesy feeling about it. So coupled with the offer campaign, you want to couple with what's called like a micro offer. It's like a small offer. So just nothing that's massive. But people get scared of doing this because they're like, but I can help them do all this stuff. But it's like, yeah, but like, that's a commitment. Like if my brother says to me, hey, go buy this, like go get this coffee down the road from this coffee shop, it's like amazing. It's like, I'll be like, okay, it's a coffee. But if he says, dude, you've got to drive down south 2 hours and go to this restaurant, it's like 10-course degustation deal. It's literally the meal. It's the best thing I've ever had. I've got you a free ticket. It's free. You can go. Still, I would be hesitant because of the time commitment and the effort required to do it. And so there's also like the friction that happens, especially in the buying process, where it's like when someone adds a bigger time commitment or perceived commitment, when someone says, I can revolutionize your business and 3x the revenue and halve your working hours, you're like, yeah, what are you, Tony Robbins? Like, no, it's not going to happen. Like, and so it's taking the other extreme back. So with sales, it's like you're offering positioning and running offer campaigns. That's like the starting point of what you want to do.
So going against the grain, basically.
100%. You want to, like, the basic rule of copywriting, like I've been going real deep on copywriting lately, is like, you do not want your thing to look like an ad. Like you want it to not look like the thing it is. So some of my best performing posts for generating leads was the one I wrote the other week where I was like, last week it was my brother's wedding and I did the best man speech. I was super stressed about it. I planned all this. And then I thought it was going to be at 8:30. So I was going to be 3 drinks down by then. But then at 6:20, I got called up and I was stone cold sober, shitting myself, and I had to deliver. And then, I went through, I delivered the speech. And, that's why you shouldn't wait till 2025 to prep for your Legion, because otherwise you'll be like the embarrassed best man who's super smashed, who makes the shitty speech, disrespecting the bride and groom. Don't be that person. Book a chat here. And so it didn't start off with like an ad, but like as they walk through, it's like at the end, it's like they've read this story and they've immersed themselves in it. So you kind of want to do the opposite of like big flashy ad thing kind of thing.
So, and when you just said that, when you just said book a chat, are you using that in terms of book a call, or do you actually book your chat when they?
Oh, chat. We don't do an actual call. It's like a chat.
So you literally are booking a chat. Okay, I'm so used to chat.
Yeah, literally. So they click on the link on our website. They'll click on the thing saying, hey, like there'll be a video, like a video sales letter where, it's to persuade someone to book a time to chat. They'll click the time. They'll be like, hey, it'll tell them like a price constraint or are you this business? So we collect information, then it goes to another form and then gets them to book an actual chat.
Okay.
It's like a DM chat.
Yeah. Okay.
But it does wig a lot of people out. Like it does. Like
that's what I'm curious. Yeah.
And we lose some deals because of it. 100%. Like we do. Because some people are like, nah, I want to chat. And you're like, man, we literally clearly wrote a chat, but people don't read things. They just click, right? We say it like 5 times. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's not their fault.
And again, the slang chat sometimes for some people is, wait, they mean this. But
Yeah. We say it like in bold. We're like, this will be a WhatsApp DM conversation, not a phone call.
Yeah.
Like, but even then it doesn't matter. It's like people don't read stuff. So it's not.
Yeah. So interesting. So then, okay, that makes sense the way that you broke it down there. What then? I mean, I guess you could say now you're closed, but no, like what's in those scenarios? Yeah. What happens here? And then how do you go about that?
Yeah. So what you want to do then is once you've run the off campaign, you're reaching out to people. What you're running is what's called a hand raiser. You're using as a classic copywriting and marketing kind of sequence of flow called AIDA. Attention, interest, desire, and action. Okay. So what you're doing is you're saying, attention, I'm doing this thing now. Would you like to join us? And someone says, yeah, I might be interested. They give you interest. Mm-hmm. And then what you say is you come back is hey, cool, have a read of this document, which is your offer document. Now, an offer document is not the information about what you do. It's a sales letter with the sole goal of them reading it and being convinced that they should chat to you and that you can help them. It's not to sell them. It's not like all the details about the program. It's like, we'll go back to copywriting principles again. When a lot of people write offer docs and proposals, they talk about like the mechanics. They're like, the drill has 16-inch bits and like all these little pieces as well. But what you should be saying is you should be saying, when you pick up this drill and you drill it into the hole, it's literally going to feel like nothing, no vibrations or anything. It's going to be the cleanest and easiest thing ever. And the battery lasts so long, you can literally have it running and the kids be screaming outside, and you can get all your Saturday work done without that happening. So it's like you want to write it in a way so the person just feels like the desired outcome. So the actual offer document as well is just a sales letter. It's like a story. Okay. It's like, hey, this is why I'm doing this thing, and this is what we're going to help people with. If this is you, it's a great fit if this is you, but if this is not you or these points, then it's not a good fit. But if you read it through and you're interested, reply back interested, and let's have a conversation. Yeah. So that's like desire. Okay. And then action is getting them to take an action. So you want to have while I get people to buy off the chat, the action is buy. I don't recommend that for 99.9% of people, like at all. It's your action should be, if you're interested, reply back interested, and let's have a quick phone call or a chat kind of thing.
Okay. And then how long is that sales letter?
It just depends on what you're doing. So like we have a free course online that writes a sales letter for you as well. So if anyone wants to do it, just go to our website. You'll probably link in the description. And so it just depends. It's in a Notion document, and it depends. Whenever you write a document or anything, depending on your level of copywriting ability, always shorter is better, especially starting out, always. So like copywriting, like when you write anything like sales letters or content, the next step you should do after you write it is come back the next day or a couple of hours later or whatever, cut 30%, just cut it. So the shorter the better, to include only the necessary words. I don't know exactly how long our one is, but it's essentially like a Notion document. The template actually makes it, but it's got to be enough to like tell the story, and it's got to have like you've got to have a convincing reason why you're doing the thing. So right now we're running a Christmas offer, and the story is, I know a lot of people that put off lead gen to 2025 because they don't want to join a program or start doing it because they're stressed because they have to take 3 weeks off with the family, and they don't want to feel that pressure of like having to do something. So what we've done is, if you pay today, you get 2 months, you'll get 6 months access for the price of 2 months, because I want to reward you for getting planned for 2025. I want you, because you're actually going to do that. So you can get in now and you can get ahead. So you make a story that's got a link with what's happening and why.
Yeah.
And the story can be anything. It could be, you could make a story that literally says, like, my wife keeps pestering me about buying a bag, right? This new bag, it's this, I can't remember what the brand is. I'll remember what it is, but it's this brand. And she's like, this brand never goes on sale. It's like the greatest thing ever. It's called Celine. Yeah. She's like, a Celine bag. Never goes on sale. Can you please buy it for me? And so I could literally write an offer document and say, my wife's bag program. My wife, she wants this bag. It's going on sale for the end of 2 weeks. Like, that's why I'm offering this great thing, because like, I want to like get her this epic gift for Christmas. So you could even do it like that. It's just got to make sense.
Yeah,
and be like, I might actually do that, to be honest. That'd be funny.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's got to tell a story and like have a reason why you're doing discount. It can't just be like a discount or extended term. Or another trick is, what you do is, you don't actually give a discount. You just, what you do in the actual document is, you just put your regular price and then you just put a higher price and you have a little cross through it. So like, you just say, hey, like I did that for Black Friday. It was like 33% off, but I just went, the price was like this, and I just, and then I increased it, and then I put a little cross out. Yeah. So there's all creative ways that you can do things as well at the same time. Like to actually run them, but they've got to have like a reason. It can't just be like random. Like, it's got to be like, this is the reason why. And I think I sent an offer on Cyber Monday, and I think I said, hey, I literally just found out what Cyber Monday was. I didn't even know what it was, but it seems like I can keep doing discounts. So if you want one, I've extended it because I just realized what this is.
Yeah. Gotcha. Nice. I like it. Okay. So then what?
So then you've got the offer doc, then you're running ADA. So where most people get offer campaigns wrong, I just wrote a post about this in our community, is they just don't send enough messages offering people. So those 3 messages are sent before day 1, day 2, and day 3. You can do it on, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It just doesn't matter. You could do it the same day if you wanted to be super aggressive. You could do that. Most people get caught up on the semantics. The main thing is that you send it to hundreds of people and you actually send it. And so making sure you send that message, then when they come back to you, say, hey, I'm interested. You essentially say, cool, all the details are in this document. Have a read through. And if it seems like it could be something of interest, let's lock in a chat. And that's what you do. But then the next problem that people have is the person doesn't get back to them and they're like, oh, they're not interested. But what actually happened is, when they got the document, the phone door rang because their wife's new bag got delivered and they had to go get it. And before, they don't want anyone to steal it off the street because it's an expensive bag, and they had to pull inside, then they forgot about it. And so like, you want to make sure that if someone asks the document, then you follow them up like multiple times. And a lot of people feel that following up is being naggy, but it is if you have no reason. If you follow up with a reason, be like, hey, like you would send a follow-up saying like, hey, was just thinking about you while I was chatting with my client. This person, I actually helped them get this really cool result. I wanted to give you this other resource for free. I think it might help you as well. You're similar to them. Also, did you have time to review the document? I got a couple of slots tomorrow that I could lock in if you're interested. And so like, you want to follow up like ruthlessly, but with reason, not cringy, not just following up. Because a lot of people, what they do is they do lazy follow-up. They don't reread the message of what happened or the context or study them. They just get 50 follow-ups and they're like, just following up. Oh, I did my follow-ups. Yeah. And you're like, nah, that's not how you do follow-ups. It's like every message should be personalized to the other human to make them feel special. So
would you, even if you personalize that message, would you still start up and say, hey, Michael, I'm just following up, and then go into the personal story? Or because I've seen a lot of people do this to me, where they just say, hey, I'm just following up. And I don't know, it sounds weird when I hear
I would just remove it.
Following up.
I would just say, I'll send something. You can be strategic around this, right? You can send a whole bunch of personalized follow-ups that are templated. So I'll say something like, hey, I was literally just thinking about you while walking my dog, Teddy. I just chatted to this client last night. I thought about you. And then I wanted to give you this thing. Oh, by the way, did you actually check the document? So there's a few rules with like follow-ups. Like you always want to give value and have a reason, but also you want to make it feel like it was off the cuff. Like that's also like, oh, I was just doing this thing and I thought of you. Even if you wrote, oh, I was just putting the washing away and I just remembered our chat and I wanted to message you. Even if you said that, no one would think anything, because like what people look for is we use heuristics, which are mental shortcuts. And so we look at messages and in our mind, we're like, can I classify that into a sales message or not? If not, guard is dropped and we'll read. Yeah. So like that's how our mind's working like subconsciously in the background. So you just want to make it look like it's not that when you're actually messaging them. Yeah. So it seems like very like off the cuff, like, hey, I was just thinking about you. Like I did one the other few weeks ago when I chatted this guy, he jumped in the program. The message came up in LinkedIn and I was like, I just audio noted him. Hey dude, I was literally just reading the chat. Like I'm literally walking Teddy now. I've got like half an hour if you want to have a quick chat. I think the program could be a good fit for you, but I just want to ask some more questions. And he's like, yeah, cool. I've got some time now. And so I was like, I think it's just trying to be more human and just like people are just very desensitized to a lot of stuff.
Would you say this also would work even if whatever you're selling, it might be a mid or larger company and you're selling to the employees in the company, not like the founder or or an individual? Would this approach work both ways?
Yeah, definitely. The only difference between selling to a large company and a small company is just the length of the sales cycle and the number of decision makers inside. So your still goal is to get them on a phone call. So like the last company that I did, we sold to like 5,000, 10,000 person companies. And so like the nature of what I did back then, I didn't understand marketing at all. So I just cold called, right? And so like back then, I remember I chased this one guy from this company called Wesley Mission here in Australia, a big charity, like a lot of different sections. And I think I think his name was Chris actually. And then I chased him for 6 months. I just keep calling him, hey dude, how you going? And then I got to know him and we had some good chats, found out we knew people between each other. And all the time he's like, look, I want to put you in with the business now, but like the procurement person's like super stressed. Like we can't do it. And I was like, dude, that's totally fine. Like we're always here, blah, blah, blah. So you do the same thing as well when you're reaching out. It's just with a bigger company, if you sent them an offer document, you would just need to make sure that it's polished enough to look legit. Like you just can't send like a big company and be like, oh, is this like offer document that you could send to a business owner? It's got to look like really polished and put together if you're doing this. But the same principles apply where you would use ADA to get them on a phone call. But it's like if you're saying to a business owner, it's like you can close way quicker because they're the decision maker and there's no one else relying on them. So it doesn't matter. But if you're selling to a bigger company, like your sole goal in the beginning is to get as many meetings as possible. Like that's what you want to do. But then past the first meeting, if you're going to a big company, there's going to be a lot of decision makers. Yeah. And so past that point is like more strategic sales process stuff where you got to multi-thread. You got to like work out who the champion is, like all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's why I always suggest people starting out, don't sell to big companies. You play the video game on hard mode. Like you want to sell, like I think if anyone has never chosen a business model, you want to start on easy mode. So what you do is you sell something that helps people make money. You sell to someone who would rather pay with money than their time. So don't sell to solopreneurs because they would rather spend 4 hours at night doing the thing than paying you. And they're a lot of the time, especially small business owners, they're really smart. And so they can work it out themselves. So go with someone who'd rather pay with their time than money. And then go with someone who has a team that doesn't involve in the decision-making ability. So even if you go to someone who has 25 employees, right, and you speak to the business owner, they've got a GM. And the GM may get pissed off that the business owner went around their back to work with you. And they might be like, hey, I want to actually work with another couple of vendors. Like, I don't actually want to work with you. And so then you have to compete politically because the GM is actually the decision maker because the CEO doesn't want to piss off the GM. And then the GM might not like you. And the GM might they don't have the same level of trust that you do. So that's navigating. So if anyone's starting out, like you want to build like anything, just help people make money, help them who want to trade time. So they want to trade their money for time. They value their timer, but they have a smaller team. Like that's what you want to sell. And you also want to sell something that's service-based. Don't sell software like ever. Like the problem with software is that when you compete in a market that has better scalability, like it's a better, more scalable and a sexier market, right? So soft SaaS is sexy, right? Everyone that comes from Silicon Valley wants to do it. So anytime you create sexy, you create an oversupply of good talent in the market, which is bad. And then also you get an oversupply of money. So like my friend Max from Warmly, who recently him and Alan raised $11 million. How can I compete with them when they all work 12 hours a day? There's 3 founders. They raised $11 million, yet I'm going to build a SaaS. So it's like you want to play on easy mode. So a services-based business, internet-based if you can, where you just do something for someone. Like you do something for someone that they don't yet have the expertise. And most people you can generate enough skills. Let's say you went with LinkedIn lead generation. You could binge my free content and just literally open up a business on Monday, like literally. And you would know so much more than small business owners because they have zero idea. And they also don't know that you only know a little bit more than them. They don't know how big the gap is at all. There's no way of them knowing. So like most people, they're just overcomplicated and they play on hard mode.
Yeah, no, very interesting. Again, as you say that, we can vouch for everything you said on the corporate side, having come from there.
Yeah,
you know, that's exactly.
You guys are in corporate, so
yeah, it's exactly how the process works on that. And it's like, oh, great, and and then so-and-so's on vacation, so we'll talk to them when they come back. And then, now finance says it's not the cycle. Anyway,
and then legals come in and they want you to do this thing, and you're like, what do you mean? Like,
there's always
then
that.
Someone went on maternity leave, and they're not coming back. When's the replacement? Don't know yet.
No, all of the above. Do you use any other tools as you're executing against these, like when it comes to any automation around the DMing, or are you, because you set up some key DMs that you initially do, and I understand how you do that on email, but what are you doing around any of the other messaging? LinkedIn?
I don't use any LinkedIn automation tools. The reason is because it's riskiest for your account. And especially the opportunity cost for me to use the DM tool, it would help for sure. But like, it's too risky. But at the same time, I do recommend people to use an automation tool. But the thing is, it goes against LinkedIn terms of service, right? So you've got to kind of like weigh it up there. But there's the catch-22 of automation tools, right? I have never really seen someone banned from automation tools if they're using it at a moderate level. I've seen people banned when they use Phantom Buster and they extract 5,000 people's profiles and all their details, and LinkedIn's like, you're data scraping. Yeah. And I've also seen a lot of people get banned when all of a sudden they go from nothing on their account and then they get Taplio and then they do 150 comments in an hour. Banned. So there's certain things that LinkedIn triggers, but like LinkedIn wants to promote conversations with people. They want to promote engagement. And but a bad thing that you can do is like send a really templated message that you just got off the internet and you just bang out like 200 of them a week in the automations. That's bad because like you burn your reputation as well. So I always encourage, like, you want to start manual, and an automation that you can use, right, would be just sending a blind connection request. So just, you can send about 150 connection requests a week. Sending them manually is quite difficult. Just send them blind and you might only get 30, 40, maybe 50% of people connect, but then you can add an extra, 100 people a week. That's 5,000 a year connections of your ICP. So if you're going to automate something, you can do that. There are other things, but there's the risk of automation where I've had conversations with people who said, one lady in particular, I think she was from Germany, and we had a chat, and she's like, literally, I went with this automation company for 6 months. They sent messages to my whole thing, my whole target market. I didn't know what they were sending. And it actually destroyed my reputation because they were sending messages for short-term wins, which is get a meeting, because they want to get a meeting quick. They want that confirmation. So she may have got a few meetings, but she was too aggressive. And so it actually destroyed her whole reputation. She wrote me this essay of a message. Like, it was so long. She's so upset. I'm like, and I was seeing if she wanted to join our program. I was like, yeah, nah, this is like, I don't want to, like, this is so bad. And like, so that's the other side of automation where, like, I think it's okay with cold email to do it because there's no face on it. But with your LinkedIn profile, like, LinkedIn is designed as a networking tool. It's like as if you go to a 24/7 networking event and you to have conversations with people, and people want to have good chats with you. That's why they log in. They want an educated discussion. But when you treat it like a sales tool and you just blast people with trying to book appointments on the first go, and I've been there, I did that in sales heaps, right? All the time. That's when you can smash your reputation. And then that's when people can, like, literally put a trigger and be like, hey, I don't want, like, this person sending me trash messages. And then LinkedIn will be like, you're sending trash messages kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Mm.
And I'm torn here because I want to keep going down this path, but I'm also curious to ask a question about that initial reach out, though, because how are you identifying these individuals that you're reaching out to in the first place? I assume that has to be heavily based on some of those early sales calls and trying to understand who actually converted, but what does that look like?
So you'll start. So there's a lot of manual work in it. That's the thing. So like doing a lot of this stuff, there's like everyone wants to like software everything. I'll give you an example. So I've got my friend Jason Squires. We're good friends. He does LinkedIn lead generation as a business too. He does it a bit different because he runs ads and I do much more organic, but we do DM sales and he doesn't do sales calls. Same thing, right? He makes like, I think he does like £150,000 a month. So really good business. Doesn't have a massive team. Everything is in a Google sheet. No CRM. Literally. It's all in a Google sheet. And he just manually pulls everything up. And so I think just when it comes to the tool side of things, it's like you want to kind of start with the minimum stuff because as you add stuff, it becomes bloated and complex. So I just want to say that on the tool side of things as well. What was the question again? Sorry, I got carried away with that.
No, just how you go about actually identifying the right leads.
Okay, so identifying the right people, it depends on your target market and who you're going after. So right in the beginning, when you very, very first start, if you're an existing small business owner, like you will have people you've chatted to and they're going to probably be in your emails and your calendar and you're going to have to spend a few hours putting it all together. It will take time. The second step though, is what you want to do is you want to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's like one of the best tools. Like it is the best thing about LinkedIn, really, how you can pinpoint your list. And you want to start obviously with your first degree connections because your first degree ones, you can send as many messages as you want. And like, as long as they're okay. And you know, you can pitch them essentially. So you start off with the first degree messages. You might filter down down based off criteria and stuff like that. Are they a business owner? Are they this? There's ways you can send the message in a way. So you can also send the message and say, hey, next week we're doing this thing, working with this date. You know, we're looking to help this person solve this outcome without this pain. I just want to check if you know anyone that might be interested. So if you wanted to go for a non-risk thing and just send it to a whole bunch of people, you just say, hey, I just want to check if you know anyone that might be interested.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like, and so you just say that instead.
Yeah,
that's a more easy way to do it. But
that actually, sorry, I was going to say that actually could be a very interesting way to go about it in general, even as a way to not sound salesy to the people you're connected with, because you are still kind of putting 100%. It on their radar. They might come back and say, actually, I am. So that's interesting.
Yeah, like 100%. Like we had someone in our program who did that exact strategy. They reached out to the script he wrote. I think I could probably find it. So he wrote it in a way where he just sent every single first degree connection and he just said to them, hey, I think he said like, hey, I know we haven't chatted in ages. Like, honestly, I just thought I'd reach out and reconnect with you. Look, I just want to let you know, I'm actually launching this new, he helps people do presentations and speaking. I'm launching this new thing. Like, I just wanted to reach out. I know it's a bit weird that I'm sending it to you, but I'm actually just looking to see if you might know anyone who might be interested. Like, this is my first time sending this type of message. So feels weird. If you don't respond, that's totally okay. Like, and he sent that. And then that's how he got his first client. Cause someone was like, oh, actually, I need some speaking things. I'm actually doing a talk next week. And he's like, oh, what talk are you doing? And he just started chatting and he gave the guy some pointers and some tips and he used them and did well. And he's like, hey, can I jump on a phone call? And he jumped on a call with them and then he like closed the client. Now he's closing him into a bigger deal after that point. So
that's great.
Started with a micro.
There's so much psychology going on there too, just in the sense of the way he kind of positioned himself as like a little new to this, whatever it is. It just all sounds kind of like, oh, they're like, oh, I want to help this guy out. He's, you're rooting for him now. That's great.
Yeah. It's like with the DMs, like what you want to do is you want to like channel your inner child. And so like I was literally having a DM chat with someone who joined our program before. And I said to her, honestly, I was talking about how we keep our team and I keep in Slack, we keep a testimonials Slack channel. So anytime someone gets a win, we screenshot it, put it in there. And I look forward to that testimonials thing, looking at it every morning with new screenshots if stuff comes in as well.
That's great.
I'm super pumped. And I said to her in the chat, I was like, man, actually, honestly, the best thing is like, the testimonials chat. I definitely suggest you should start using it as well. It's like, honestly, the best drug. It's like the best thing. And then she came back with me and she said something like about white powder or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. And then I just like laughed about it and she laughed, but it was like superhuman. It was like your inner child comes out and you kind of just say what you think. And so you kind of want to do that when you're messaging someone. So it's like, people don't have enough. It's like, you want to say things like, honestly, totally so sorry. Like I've actually got this appointment coming up. I can't actually talk now. Man, the kids are crying. This is happening. And so you want to like over explain and use like their inner child of things that you might previously want to hold back because you're self-conscious about, or you don't know if that's professional or whatever. So you want to kind of like over say things and explain, because you want people to relate to you in certain ways like you would do in conversations.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right. Interesting. I almost wonder if actually chat can make that easier at times for certain people, because there is a difference. I don't know. Sometimes people want to come across polished. I guess it depends on the individuals, because others are more loose in person. But yeah,
it totally depends on the individual as well and who you're selling to. Like one of the biggest things with sell by chat is matching tone. Like what you would do in a sales conversation, Chris Voss popularized this through mirroring. Like he talked about hostage negotiations. Like everyone's like, I remember his first like that Masterclass ads that came up on Instagram, and it was always Chris Voss.
Oh yeah,
he was always on there. I can't remember that, but
yep.
He talks about mirroring, but you kind of want to do the same thing. That's what you do in a sales conversation. If they lean in, you lean in. They lean back, you lean back, right?
Yeah.
They talk slow, you talk slow. So you match their tone. It's the same with the DMs. So like if someone is being very, very professional and straight, you do the same thing. And if they write a long message,
sure,
and they take a data reply, you write a long message and you take a data reply. And so you match their tone so they feel like they get you. And to take this even more advanced, right, there's an AI tool called Humantic AI, and it personality types the person based off their profile and everything they've written, all their comments. So it tells you what their disc profile is and their big five. And so what you can do to take it to another level, I used to do this on sales calls, is you study their disc profile, and then you can put in our prompt that we have around how to write the sell by chat conversation, and you can put in their disc profile, and it would tell you how they would want to respond. Because you know how when you get an email sometimes from someone, you're like, oh, that's pretty aggressive, but to them it's like normal. So it's like you want to write in their tone as well.
Yeah.
So matching that is really key for them to make people feel comfortable and like let their guard down and stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like a brilliant tool. I like that.
Yeah. It's look, Humantic is not required for someone to do the DMs. It's like that's like taking it a bit too far. Like it does work and stuff like that. But it's just, I'm just saying to the extremes of like how you can personalize things as well. Cause like if someone in the disc profile, if they're a high C personality type, right? They're very detail orientated. They take a long time to make a decision. But when you win them over, they're your biggest advocates.
Yeah.
And so for those people, if you're selling to them, they need long, detailed, step-by-step, everything that's going to happen. They need that type of information. And for me, I'm the total opposite of that. So I hate selling to high Cs. I find it very, very difficult. So a lot of people usually sell the way they buy as well. And a lot of salespeople are also high Is and high Ds in the disc profile. But a lot of the time I struggle to sell to high Cs or engineers and stuff like that because I don't get them as well. But you've got to match like the other person.
But what's great, and just hearing what you're saying, whether that tool is necessary or not, you could see that you get that, and that you understand you're thinking about customers in those terms, which I think is, I'll call it the more advanced side of sales. And as you say, may not be even mandatory for you all the time, but it sure is going to help you to see where you're going right or wrong and be able to pivot.
Yeah. And this is where like there's so much information on LinkedIn about cold DM scripts, right? And a script is good as a starting base, but like cold DM scripts. Here's the ultimate cold DM script that's going to get you a X% reply rate, right? And then people talk about here's this hook template, to create these amazing posts, and here's how to make your profile look amazing. That's like 2% of LinkedIn. That's the hard thing as well. Like the depth of what happens is actually in the conversational exchange, like in the actual chat you have with the other human. And that's what's really hard is that, especially with LinkedIn, a lot of people read free information that's put out there, and there's marketers putting out free information. And the ironic thing is the people with the loudest voices don't even make any money anyway, which is like really bad as well. But they're promoting these things, but that's not even like the depth. And so I think what a lot of other people do, especially starting a business and stuff like that, is they don't understand the skill gap that exists between lead generation and sales. Because the problem with sales and lead generation, sales in particular, right, is if someone listens to this podcast right now, they're going to think to themselves, everything that Matt's saying or we're all talking about, it sounds so simple. Man, it makes sense. But the problem with simple is doesn't mean it's easy, because you can get out, but when you're actually in practice, you forget everything. And so the only way to get good at it is actually do it and then apply the principles to it. And then it becomes second nature in your psychology. So when I closed those 2 deals before I joined the call today, I didn't think about a script. I didn't think about anything. I just wrote like what I thought because I've done it so much. So the true power is like using scripts and stuff to train you to get you there. But then when you get there, then you're like Jose is out as a coach in our program, and he's had 15 years sales experience, and now he's a DM expert. Like that's what he teaches his clients, and he's a coach in our program. He doesn't need to think about that stuff. It's like, it's just second nature. So that's why I'm very big advocate on the skills. And I think because it sounds conceptually easy, like if I watch a YouTube video on physics, like I'm useless at advanced math because I don't have that foundation. There's like, you can see when you did say mathematics at school, there's a stepping stone to the next section of like the next level of ability. And if you'd miss these parts, you can't do it. But with sales and stuff, there's the same thing. People just don't know it. They can't see it because it's very conceptually easy. So they don't know how big the gap is. And also, if they don't have the skill, they can't identify the gap. So that becomes another hard thing.
It makes a lot of sense. And you just described the difference between Arten's golf game and my golf game, because I'm still stuck in my golf game and not understanding some of the little bit. But Arten, meanwhile, he's starting to get to it to master it. Now he can. Yeah, no, I totally understand where you're
so Michael, you and I should then play golf, and then we'll be good together.
Probably right. It sounds good. Yeah,
I hate playing good people.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. It's with anything. I am so dedicated to becoming better.
Yeah.
That I'm putting the time into it and studying it. So I think it's the parallels are the same, whether it's sales or anything.
100%.
A golf swing might look simple from the outside, but I can tell you what to do. But if you try to do it, it's not going to look good. It's all practice.
I played golf on my brother's wedding day on the weekend. He wanted to play golf. And like one of our good friends who's one of the groomsmen, like he works at a company that Phil Mickelson owns, right? So he plays like golf. Yeah. And then you play with him and you're like, oh, I see the gap. I see the gap. Like their team, they played like a team of 4 and they played, I can't remember what it's called, and they got like 5 under. Yeah. And he just like crushed it. And you're like, it's so far difference. It's funny.
Totally. Well, I will say though, I'm the best at finding the balls. I'm really good at that. So, I mean, I know where my...
You're saving money.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways.
That's awesome.
Okay, awesome. So then jumping back just towards, I think, but you could correct me if I'm wrong, that we were getting towards before we jump back to leads, kind of closing that sale and that process there. Would you just kind of walk us through what the rest of that looks like?
So you send the offer document, like, you follow them up ruthlessly. You want to get them on a call. And like a lot of this is sales. Like why I like to talk about copywriting, positioning, offers, sales, and funnels, like that's all the kind of core things I talk about, is because it all intertwines with each other. They're all skills. And there's a guy called Sam Ovens, like who built school.com. And he talks about in one of his old school videos from like 5 years ago, he used to only hire people who are full stack. And full stack means that they've got a lot of skill sets, because when someone's got a lot of skills, they can make decisions and do things really quickly, and you don't need to meet a lot, which is good. But these things kind of stack on each other as well. But the next stage is like essentially qualifying the individual. So what a lot of people do is they either jump on a call too early, or they jump into like a pitch call too early. Yeah. And a lot of people, because they don't have many leads, they get real excited. Like they get very excited when someone's like actually interested, and they like feel I've got to pitch them really early or else they're going to escape. And that's kind of like the opposite of what you want to do. Okay. But the next stage, I've sent the offer doc, they're interested. You want to then suggest times to chat. So you want to think about what's called micro persuasions or micro commitments. A lot of people what they would do is they say, hey, if you're interested to chat, here's my calendar link, select a time. That's like the wrong thing to do, because you want to make the process as easy as possible for the other individual. And so if I have to get them to click a calendar link, when I get a calendar link, I see it as a barrier. I have to make a decision, and I've got a certain amount of decision-making power. And so I don't want to click on the link and select a time. I want them to suggest, times to me, and they do it for me. So what I would do is I'd say, cool, are you free tomorrow at 9 or 11 to catch up? I can lock a time in. Do either of those times work? And a lot of the time when you say that to someone, if it doesn't work, the rule of reciprocity kicks in, which is a persuasion principle. And they say, no, but this time works. Yeah. Because they feel bad. Yeah. Because you went out of the way to suggest some times. And then what you do is you say, they might say this time, yeah, that works fine. What's your, what's your email and phone number? And I'll I'll add it in now. So you added in the time, and then you open your Calendly, you select the time, and then do the work for them to make it as easy as possible.
Sure. Okay.
And then before the chat, you want to say things like, yeah, looking forward to chatting. If you can have a read or a watch, if you have some other resource beforehand, it will help learn more. In this chat, all I want to do is I just want to understand, can I even help you as well? Like, and so like, this isn't going to talk about our offer or anything. I just want to have a chat to understand. I've also prepared a couple of things from other clients that might be helpful for you. I asked the team to put together for me. So you want to create these little micro commitments to get them keen and excited for the call. So that's what you want to do, and like push them into the call. And so, and even before the call, you know, an hour or two before, you can say something like, and you can automate the reminders, but it's much better to do it manually on the platform that they like, because then they know it's personalized. You'd say something like an hour before, I'd say, hey, Michael, really looking forward to the call. I actually found this other thing that will be super useful, help my other clients really like you. I actually want to share it with you on the call. Looking forward to chatting.
Yeah.
And so like you have all these micro persuasion, micro commitments to like then get them on the call.
Got it. Makes sense. And again, for you around some of those things, are you automating those through Go High Level, through Calendly, through, how are you approaching that?
So the way that like I do it to like book a chat is I will like essentially use the Go High Level calendar function. I would suggest other people to use Calendly.
Sure.
I would not suggest anyone to get Go High Level as a fresh thing and try to start to use it. Like, really hard to build. We're going to bring out like a built out templated version of Go High Level with a built-in website and stuff next year. It's like a product we're going to release.
Yep.
Super complicated. Like, make it as easy as possible. Just get Calendly. Maybe you don't even get Calendly. Just use the Google Calendar.
Yeah, right. Well,
make it so easy. Like,
and
so
I was curious on that, because you're kind of breaking your own rule from earlier, but maybe not, or maybe you're further along. Because I was going to ask when you were saying software. But what I do see people doing now is doing kind of white labeling a Go High Level or other tools out there where it's pre-built with the templates, all that. So it's simplifying it, but because it's built with your stuff, it's not exactly, it isn't a new software from scratch. You're building it on the back of another software. Is that where you do think that there is an exception, or do you think you've been at it long enough now that you know that there's something there?
It's just that I've just found that like you can get a lot of bloat with software very easily. And so you want to kind of start with the minimal amount of stuff and build on it. And so like for context, like we book like 2,000 chats in a year, right? So it's a lot of chats, right?
Sure.
So like we need like kind of more infrastructure, but we did all that. Like we could have done it with Google Calendar and all that kind of stuff as well. So you kind of want to add the software based on thing, because a lot of people, what they do is they're like, oh, I'm going to get this software because it might have some features on it that I want to use.
Yeah.
And so I might explore it, but it's like, nah, you want to literally be like, I need this. I'm going to find a tool to fix this thing, because otherwise you just get software bloat and complexity.
Totally. Makes sense. Yeah. And then you have the barrier once you get into the software, because now you're like, I've known a lot of friends who've gone and bought the software and still can't figure out.
I did the same thing. Like when I started the business, I bought HubSpot Enterprise, like 15 grand for a year. I was an idiot. Like I bought it. I didn't need it like at all. And so like, you know, and that was stupid. I wasted money and then learned that. Like, so I totally get it. And I think it's just because if I go back to my friend Jason Squire's business, right, as an example, like I think everyone thinks to like have a business that does a lot of money. And again, I don't even think we're like a tiny business. So we're not like a big business at all. Like we're tracking 2.5 million a year now. It's like, it's okay. Right. But like, I think everyone, especially with smaller business, they just overcomplicate what is actually required to just sell stuff. Like in general, like you don't need a lot of stuff. It's like, you kind of don't need anything. It's like, I'm a big believer in like the way most people, I think, structure things is they try to systematize stuff first, then they build things, then they sell, then they try to get leads. But it's the other way around. You just want to get as many leads as you possibly can. You want to sell everyone, then whatever they need to do, you want to build it. Then you want to like operationalize it and like level it up, like past that point. And so I chatted to a guy before and he's like, what do I do in this situation? Like I do done for you email courses, like educational email courses for founders and stuff like that. Yeah. And he's like, but some of them want a DIY solution. And he's like, what do I do? Do I build it in this? And I was like, okay, this is what you do. Just sell it one time. And if you sell it, scramble for a day and build it. Just build it. And just tell the person, cool, onboarding for the DIY is next week, Tuesday. I'm going to give you a couple of things to do before then. Looking forward to Tuesday. And then just cram the whole weekend to build the thing.
Right.
Like, and so just you want to build like after you sell it, because a lot of people get into build mode because like it's the building is like same as creating content. It's fun. You get in a zone. It's like when you're a little kid and you put Lego together and you just get transfixed with putting this Lego or this puzzle. It's like
you
you
feel
love
like you're
it.
doing
And, like,
something too that you can see a result of. It's
yeah. It's like, but the thing about DM and sales and stuff is initially people just like I went away on a mastermind in Fiji and there was 6, 7, and 8 figure business owners all there. And they're all coaches, right? Similar to me. And the difference between the 6-figure people and the 7 and 8 was that the 6-figure, every time I said lead generation, they're like, ads. I don't want to talk about that. 7 and 8-figure, we talk about, I've got this new lead generation tactic. And my friend Ben, who's got like a $12 million business, he's like, oh, what is it? How can I do it? Oh, that's sick. And so like they would like lean in. And so there's a lot of what happens is people don't have a love of lead generation because like when you like for me with golf, right? I hate golf, but I'm probably if I got a couple of months of coaching and I'd probably end up loving it, right? Probably, but it's because I'm so bad at it now. I just hate.
I'm with you.
Hate it so bad. Yeah. But like
after 8 holes, I'm ready to go home. Yeah.
It's like there's a gap of love, and that's the problem. But when you get like when I was having these DM chats this morning with these 2 clients that joined, I was loving the chats. I was having so much fun. Like I went and sat in the coffee shop. I was using the app. We were talking. We were bantering. We were like having a lot of fun talking. And like so, I actually like love DMing. It's so fun. And so there's a point that you like when the thing that you get good at, then it becomes like mastery, and you start enjoying it. Yeah. And so you want to like the people who I see win are like they start to love lead generation. So we had a client in our program, Roy, didn't post for 6 weeks at all, but he closed £120,000 when he ran an offer campaign, just DMing people.
That's
and he's
crazy.
been doing it, but he's a seasoned sales pro, right? He's been doing it for ages and he's learning the DM thing. But like, it's because he literally loves it. When you get on a group call and when someone asks a question about DMs, Roy, oh Matt, I want to answer this one. Sweet. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he loves it. And so
yeah, that's awesome.
You've got to create this love of lead generation as the first thing, because you already love building the thing and serving the people. But if you create that, everything is downstream from lead generation. When you have so many leads, then everything flows, and then you build stuff based off what people want instead of what you think.
That makes sense. And to do that, then you just got to overcome the fear, get more confidence around it, so that it's no longer something you're trying to avoid. It's something you're actually you can see the outcome to it.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's like having a cold shower, right? It's like you jump in the cold shower. It's like super scary having a cold shower, but then you're in it. You're like, oh, it's like super refreshing. Like this feels good. Or even exercise or like anything like that. Like I do CrossFit. I'm a psycho. I'm one of those guys who does the crazy things, right? And when I first did CrossFit for my first 6 months, like this is like 12 years ago, I would like be so scared driving to the gym because it hurts so bad. And now I'm like addicted to it. Like after this podcast thing, I'm going to go to the gym and do a CrossFit class, which is going to be super fun. And so like over time it switches and then you have like a love for it. But I think people just like, they get into this building in the zone phase because they feel like they're being productive by like building the Lego fort. But like, they're just not addressing like the massive issue that's happening.
If you're not
so
actually
the blinders on.
Right. You're not actually getting closer to the sale. Like what's the thing that's going to actually get you closer to sale? It's not all those things that's asking for the sale. It's getting
it's just asking. So it's just run an offer campaign, making heaps of offers, following people up all the time. And just like, I think we've gotten to the offer doc and the sale. So I think we got to the first call, right? That's where we're up to now.
Yeah.
The first call. So then like the first call, what you say to someone, you can just take this exact same script. I would say, hey, Arden, what's going on? Really looking forward to having our conversation. I've done quite a bit of research on you beforehand as well. And I've got some stuff I really want to show you. Now, in this call, all I want to do is make it all about you. I just want to get a good understanding of your business to see if I might even be able to help you. And if I think I can, and we both think we can, let's book another chat for tomorrow or the next day to talk about how. That way we can just spend this time. But if I can't help you, I'll just let you know. And then I can point you in the right direction. Is that okay? And then they'll always say yes. And then you just say, cool. And at any point, if you want to stop me, or if you want to ask questions, feel free, just go ahead and do it. Is that all right? And they'll say, yeah. They'll never stop you.
Yeah.
Ever. And so then what you do is then you just ask the strategic questions around what you want to know to qualify them, that get them to open up and like lower the guard down. And so you want to do things like, you want to use like peel the onion back questions like, oh, so you mentioned lead generation was a problem. Like, you know, what do you think the gap is, or why do you think there's a problem happening? And you're like, oh, email marketing or this thing isn't happening. It's like, oh, why don't you think it's working? And then they'll be like this. And you're like, oh, why does that matter? And you're like, because I can't make this revenue for the next couple of months. And you're like, oh, like what's going to happen if you don't make revenue for the next few months? You ask a consequence question. And then they're like, well, like this thing's going to happen. And then you're like, okay. And so you've like peeled it all the way back. So that whole session, it's essentially like a therapy session where they're venting towards you, back to you, and they feel relief because they've just told you all their problems. And then what you do in the second call, I've got like a pitch deck of how to do this. Then is the pitch call. But then you want to make sure that when you have the second call, is like, look, at the end you say, look, I think based on our chat, I think I might be able to help you. Let's book a chat tomorrow. You're free at 9 a.m. tomorrow. You want to make it as quickly as possible. Don't do it next week. Remove next week from your brain on sales calls. It's like tomorrow or this afternoon.
Got it.
And then you want to say you're free then. We talk about how I'll send you some more information between. We can go through pricing and all that kind of stuff. I've got a few options for pricing that I want to show you. So I can't give you exactly what it will be because I don't actually know what you'd like. Is that okay? And they'll be like, yeah, that's sweet. And then you send them some more information. Then you have a pitch deck, and then you build the pitch deck and you personalize it and you write what they said. So if you can record the sales tool, I would use a tool called Sybil. It's my favorite meeting recorder, but all the other ones are fine.
Okay.
Just feed it into GPT and say, hey, this is my pitch deck. What parts do I write? And then what you do is you just re-pitch back what they said to you. So in the pitch deck, you take literally their words from the sales chat and you say, cool, like I'm here to present a few solutions, like blah, 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 here it is. Look, you said on the last call, these are your top 3 problems. 1, 2, 3. Is that right? And they're like, yeah, that's right. And then you just take them through talking about the solution and like, but the pitch deck is written in just what they want to buy. Yeah. So it's them. It's so slightly adjusted to them. And then before you get to the pricing, you want to make sure you ask enough questions around timing and budget, all that kind of stuff. You make sure you qualify. And then you say, look, are there any more questions before I present anything? I just want to make sure. And they'll say no. And then you say, are there any more questions though? Like, I'm sure there's some stuff. Other people have stuff. No, are you sure? Any more questions? And they'll be like, oh, there's one thing. And then that's what's called objection handling. So you're pre-objection handling before you share the price. Yeah. Because once you share the price, like your pants are down, it's done. You can't come back from that, right? And so you want to objection handle everything and talk through everything. Okay. And then you say, like, cool. Like, if everything's okay, do you think you can make a decision day? We can start working together. Yeah. If it's cool. And then you go into the pricing discussion. You say, like, cool. These are the 2 or 3 options you have. And with the pricing, you always want to do the pricing. You want to use a thing called anchoring. So what anchoring is you want to have a product that's like the anchoring that I use, right? Is our program now is like 3,000 USD. And then I say that you've got option 1, 2, and 3, 3,000 USD, or I think the other one's like 9,000 USD or 16,000 USD. The only difference between the other two is you get one-on-one sessions with me. That's it. And a small percentage of people will buy the higher one just because they want it. They want faster and speed. Yeah. But the whole point of the other ones is to show the value of you and your time to push them to another one. And you can push people to the middle one. You can push them to the top one. You just look up price anchoring of how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so you want to make one, the blatantly obvious thing for them to do. And for them to think like usually, oh, wow, that's like really expensive. And then you say, look, I think all of the options would be really good for you. I think you could be really good. Which one do you think you're leaning towards? And most people being self-conscious of price, they're like, oh, probably maybe the top one, but nah, probably this one. You're like, yeah, you can just start with that. You can upgrade to this one later if you want. So then they're not being self-conscious about that because everyone would be. Yeah. And then at that point, if they're still like really hung up on price and if they're like cash flow, right, is like the worst thing, you want to do a couple of things called step down. So step down number 1 would be payment terms. How about we split it over 6 months? So you go payment terms. Still, if the payment terms thing doesn't work, then what you do is you do a downsell. Cool. Well, I've actually got this other thing. It's a small part of what I sell. I only offer it to perfect fit people. If you want to take it today, like I want you to do it, run it for 2 weeks, and then we'll meet up in 2 weeks when you got the result. Is that okay? So you've got like a downsell. So you've got something that you can always monetize. So I have a downsell product of $297. So if people really don't want to do it, we sold 2 yesterday, right? So it's an extra $600. Yep. You get paid for the sales call. It like works great. Right. And so that's how you want to like step down. I can keep going. I've got a couple other points, or feel free to ask questions. Otherwise, I'll keep talking.
I mean, keep going.
So then after that, right, is you can go to objection handling, but most of the time you want to pre-handle the objections. The key to objection handling is pre-handle the objections. And so what I would suggest, if you do get really caught up on objection handling, YouTube a guy called Jeremy Miner, and then just watch all his objection handling stuff. He'll go like so deep. That guy is like a weapon at sales, right? He wrote a book on it. Like, I love his content. So I would look at objection handling. I've got a guy in our 7-figure creators program, Kevin Dorsey. Like, he's really big creator, about 120,000 followers. He's way better objection handling than me because he's a seasoned sales pro and coach. But if you get caught on objection handling, but usually objections are budget and time. That's it. And so sometimes you just want to play around with the pricing terms because it's usually cash flow. It's not actually budget. The other thing with time is like what I'm doing for Christmas. Hey, if you pay for 2 months now, I'll give you 6 months access.
Right.
And so you use time as a thing to get them to commit to the thing. But if you're getting like massive objections, it's probably because you're not qualifying hard enough in the beginning. Like, that's the problem. You want them to get to the point where the price stings a little bit, but they're like, but it makes total sense. And I told him, and then they join. But then the trick is, if you're on the call, after they join, right? Now you can make exclusive offers on the call. You can say it's only available now, all that kind of stuff, right? The trick to getting them to join then is you can also add in like bonuses. Also, if you want to jump in now, I'll give you this other amazing thing. And so that you can layer stack the bonuses. But then the trick is, once they say yes, and they're like, yeah, I'm keen, let's do it. Don't send them the pricing link right away. Sit in it. Say to them, Michael, I'm so excited to work with you. I think this is a great decision. What are you most looking forward to? And you need them to emotionally commit before they pay. So so what a lot of people do is they send the payment link or send the invoice after. They fuck that up. So like you want them to emotionally commit and sit in it for like 5 minutes. Be like, so keen, and just vibe with them. Yeah, when you start, and then you say things like, I'm going to connect you with someone else in the program, 2 other people like you. I'm going to intro you them straight away. I'm going to write you a custom plan. I'm going to literally CC you in now with the head of customer success to have your onboarding today if you want. Look, I'll CC them in right now. You literally do that. Is there anyone else in your company who wants to get looped in and added to the program? Cool, let's add them in as well. Like, and so you just do all this stuff. So they're like, oh, there's no way I can back out now. Like, I'm in. I'm committed. Then like, awesome. Like, all you got to do is enroll this link now, and I want to make sure you get access. Let me know when you process it. Dude, I'm so pumped to work with you. It's going to be really good. I think you made a really good decision based off everything we've gone through. You send them a Stripe link. They pay with the Stripe link, like then and there. I would also suggest, if you have their phone number, send it to their phone, because people on their phone, they have Apple Pay, they have Quick Pay. On their computer, they got to put in the credit card details a lot of the time. Sometimes it's saved, but it's easier on the phone because a lot of people buy stuff on their phone. Yeah. And so you send it through their phone through a text. Hey, just texted it through to you. And then after they purchase, then you want to like confirm it. Dude, so pumped to work with you. Let's do the things as well. What are you most looking forward to? And then you like get them implemented into the stuff like immediately. So either book their onboarding call if you've got that, or book the next call with their team, add their team to the calendar. Like, what if you're an accountant, right? You know, and you just do this, like all this stuff. Now, some situations you may need to send an invoice. Maybe they don't pay then and there. If you need to send them an invoice, what you do is you book their next few calls that they're going to have. So if it's like a 15 grand thing, right? And they're going to pay via invoice. Cool. I'll send an invoice. All right. When are we going to do the onboarding? Share your screen, pull up the calendar. When's your team free? Yeah. I'm going to add them all now. 1, 2, 3 calls. All right, let's email them all. Here's this pre-document. Here, do this. Here, do this.
More in stone. Yeah.
The social pressure of them. So because imagine if they have to tell their team, hey, we're going to cancel these 3 meetings. We're not going with them anymore. Oh, why aren't we doing that? It's like, so it causes a friction where they won't want to tell the team. So any little thing you can do to micro persuade people. And that's how I would like go through. And if anyone wants a pitch deck, just go on our website, get the free pitch deck. We've got the pitch deck on there. This exact pitch deck. You can just
Awesome. Wow. That
was a lot. Wow. Talk about a masterclass.
Yeah. And then the nuances you hit, even at the tail end there. I mean, I know while it might've felt like we went through those a lot faster, I also just think the flow of the way you did it and the things that you do, there's so much that's happened there though, that I could see. And maybe I also got caught up in the excitement of each of those and the psychology.
Yeah. If anyone's watching this, I would rewatch it as well. Like it's because all these little things, like, it's probably impossible for you to put all these things in your sales calls like straight away. Like because I teach this, I have to learn it like off the top of my head, right? So it's so hard. But back when I used to work at Zoom in sales, I did not do this like at all, like literally. But if you just take a couple of the things and layer them in as well, like probably one of the biggest ones, especially if you sell something online, is don't send them the Stripe link straight away. Sit in the emotional excitement. What are you most excited about?
Yeah.
And then they'll literally tell you, man, I'm so excited about that as well. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. It's like, and you want them to feel like they're pumped.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the right decision. You don't want them to come off and be like, this is really bad.
And it also helps because I think it doesn't feel like you're just trying to get to the end of the sale and close it for the sake of they're just another number. It actually feels like so that's smart. I like it.
Yeah. It's just like, there's all, and that's the thing about like learning the skill and becoming passionate as well, is like, it's impossible to get good at something if you're like not passionate at it.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't, like, it's just, and so you've got to like find a love for it and be like, really enjoy the psychology of the thing.
Sure.
And then then what you do is like, let's say scrolling YouTube, your feed then becomes whatever this is. So my feed is like sales stuff. And so like, then you get a tip that comes through and you're like, oh, I could have used that on that sales call. Right. And then you write it down without thinking. Yeah, without thinking, because you do really like it. But the biggest block in the beginning is people like, they just don't love it. And they're like, they could listen to all this stuff and then do it. But because a lot of people use the excuse of like, I'm not a salesperson. And then they'll be like, but I just love building things and helping people. It's like, yeah, well, if you really wanted to help people, this is being the real, you would learn sales so you can help more people. Right. So you don't actually care about other people. You actually just care about yourself. You're just using that as an excuse. It's like, that's the real, if you like think about it. It's like, because if you did care about people, you put in discomfort. It's like, if I did really care about my parents, I'm going to drive an hour every week to go see them for dinner.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's like, so you do the action. Yeah. It's like different as well.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting way to look at it, and it's so true. I'm curious on just a couple of questions here for LinkedIn, and just as you talk about it with all of the chats or any, because I guess this could work Instagram as well. In those ways.
It works on anything. Like someone joined our program. The guy who owns my gym, he has like an online golf training thing on Instagram. He's got about 30,000 followers. He was never DMing, and I was like, dude, just do these things. And he came back to me. He's like, dude, I sold 5 $1,000 packages. Like, this is insane. Now, so the principles of sell by chat apply everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
And it applies in copywriting, sales chats, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. That makes sense. And then for say each of those tools, what is Navigator help you? Because it's not easy, at least it's easy to lose people when you're just using the regular DMs in those. Is it an add-on tool that helps with that?
Yeah. So if I was to use a tool, like an add-on tool, I'd use one called Kondo. Yeah. The website is Kondo. Okay. The CEO, Mitchell, literally onboards you. It's the best one to keep track of the DM conversations. Because what you want to do is you want to have like probably 4 to 5 stages in the DM chats. So you want to have like sales stages in your CRM. There'll be an opportunity stage. There'll be like qualifying, discovery, this. There'll be stages. So you want to have ICP. So you want to have it like tagged.
Yep.
Second stage would be waiting for reply. So you send them a message. Third stage, qualifying. You're qualifying them. Fourth stage, meeting proposed. You proposed a meeting.
Okay.
Fifth stage, meeting booked. Then sixth stage might be close lost. And then seventh stage might be qualified out. So you have stages. And so that allows you to track like who you're chatting to, because some sales chats on LinkedIn will last a day. Some will last 6 months. Well, depending on the person.
I think what you just said is so critical too for the mental component, the part that wants to give up, like, because now you can see and you get this greater sense, and it's easier to see that than just the hodgepodge. What'd you say the name of that tool was?
It's Kondo, Kondo.
Kondo. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I taught there's a creator called Tim Keane, and so he helps agency owners scale from $20,000 to $100,000 a year. He's one of our clients, and he's a weapon at LinkedIn lead gen, amazing at lead magnets. He just messaged me one day and he's like, dude, I'm sick of working this out myself. Like, let me join 7-figure creators. So he joined that as well. And he closed 70 grand in 5 weeks, like crushed it. But he already had a big audience. But like one of the biggest things for him, the few biggest changes was, one, he got better on his positioning. So he used to do LinkedIn lead generation. Then he went down and he said, I just help agency owners go from $20,000 to $100,000 a month just through LinkedIn.
Okay.
Literally what he says. He just changed that. We rebuilt his offer doc. The other thing that he did is he added those DM stages. He just had condo, added DM stages. And so when he sends people lead magnets, agency owners, he qualifies them, moves them to chat. Hey, I used to be an agency owner too. I work with agency owners. What are you working on right now? And like he asked some questions. So he moved them through the funnel. And so now because before now he'd get like 2,000 comments on a lead magnet, but he had no way of sorting who the ICP is. Because usually when you put a lead magnet out, like only 10% might be your ideal clients, maybe even less. So you want to like sort them, but like you want to, through every chat conversation you have is a little, I like to what it builds is trust equity. So if you chat to someone like 6 months ago and you just give them value and just help them and you just stop chatting, they remember that. And so it creates trust in them. And it's the same throughout your content. Your content creates trust at scale, but it's what you want to do is if you proactively find your ideal clients in Sales Nav, like, and then you reach out to 200 a week and you add them and you add 100 a week, right?
Yeah.
And then you have good conversations with them and you add value. And then you run your offer campaigns every 6 weeks and you say, hey, just checking if you're interested. And they're like, no, I'm cool. Sweet. That's all good. Oh, I've also got this free thing. Do you want it? So you're just always this really helpful person that's just saying, hey, if you're keen now,
totally
all the time. It's just non-aggressive. And so what you do after like 3 months, 6 months, a year, like now, like if I run an off campaign and like put my hand up via email, I get like 100 replies, like because it's just, you've just been adding value like all the time to people to help them. And like that's the difference, because most people, what they do is they go for the direct pitch, but only 3% of the market's ready to buy right now. That's it. And so they're only targeting 3% of the market. But when you market well and you be helpful, you target 100% of your total addressable market. And then there's different stages that they walk through to potentially being ready to buy. And then, but then after 100 days, if all you've done is help them, and then all of a sudden, you know, something happens and they need your solution, you're the first person they think of. Because all you've done is be helpful. So a lot of people go for, they just play the too short game, but usually it happens because they don't have enough leads. So they're stressed about next month. So they got to go hard and then they burn the patch. And so you want to think more long-term and have a system where you just have so many leads and so many chats, you like can't even deal. Because the best thing that can happen is if someone sends you 2 messages and says, hey, can I have that free thing? Or, hey, I wanted to know the answer to the question, or we were still chatting, and you come back to them and you'd be like, so sorry, like I've been so smashed. I onboarded 5 clients. It's been going so well. This client got this amazing result. Like I've got half an hour now. You got time for a chat. It's like, then they're like, whoa, this is like super important. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. This has been amazing. And I know you mentioned different resources that it sounds like will be wonderful too, that we link below this too.
If you just go to our website, like 7figurecreators.com, and like there's a free course there. It's a 5-day free course. Excellent. It walks you through how to build your offer doc, your pitch deck, how to close deals, same training. It goes through how to find your target market, your niche, everything that I literally ran through. It just goes through all that stuff. Yeah.
Wonderful. Then that's where we'll direct people towards. Is there any,
we'll become students.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Wonderful.
That's it. Awesome.
Well, I think, you know, there's so much wisdom here, but if anybody has other questions, just drop them in the comments. So don't hesitate to ask more. And thank you so much, Matt, again. I'm sure we'll see you again, because these conversations are great. So we'll do another one.
That was one topic. We can deep dive a few others.
No, that was huge. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you. And we'll see everybody in the next one.
Gotcha.
All right.
Bye.
See y'all.